So just on both sides of the aisle, there's a lot of criticism about the government, what they call the government keeps on dipping into FNPF. What do you say to those who say the government does not have any money to assist all these people that are now accessing their funds, their retirement funds?
So which aisle are you talking about?
These opposition parties in particular,
the
FNPF, they're saying why does the government keep dipping in? Does it not have the money to support all these people themselves? And because these are essentially retirement funds. And also on that question, what do you say to some current workers who are not accessing their funds, but maybe listening to this announcement and maybe thinking, because of all that criticism, will I have any funds left for me when I retire?
Well, I think those people who make those comments probably have a very ignorant understanding of the FNPF fund and how it operates. As we've highlighted previously, there are two components to FNPF. When your FNPF contribution goes through your employer and your employee, you as the employee, it goes into your what we call preserved account and your general account. As I've continuously said in this press conference, that it's only monies in your general account. General account are monies that's there which people can actually access. So if you, for example, for educational purposes, want to withdraw funds, you're allowed to withdraw that. If you want to go for overseas treatment, you're allowed to withdraw from your general account. So it is not touching your preserved account, which essentially is kept for your retirement purposes. So that's, you have to understand that. There's a lot of people who are trying to obfuscate the issues. The only time that the preserved account can be accessed by members is if they're buying their first home. FNPF allows you to take out up to 50% of your funds if you're buying or building a first home. That's the only time. But for all other intents and purposes, you are only able to touch your general account, which is only 30% of your funds. This is why we are saying that if anybody has exhausted the funds in the general account, government is paying 100% of that. If anybody has $500, we top it up. In this particular instance, I'll buy another $600. General account funds are used in any case. Australia now, the Australian government has allowed members of superannuation funds, where the returns are only about 2.5–3%. In Fiji, it's about 8%. So they've allowed them to also access funds. So, I mean, I think those kind of criticisms are quite hollow, political in nature. The reality of the matter is the preserved funds are preserved, as the name indicates. Only the general account is what is being touched. And as you know, that a lot of people access the general account in Cyclone Winston time, $1,000. A lot of people who, when Suva did not get affected by Cyclone Winston, went and very happily took out $1,000 and went up to Hong Kong 7, so whatever the case was. So it does not touch your preserved account, it's only your general account. And the reality of the matter is, we've taken a sustained approach. As you can see, in this particular announcement, 20,000 people now have $35 or less in their account. We're funding it 100%, $1,100 for the next 5 weeks. If in the next wave, you probably have less people, I should say far more people, they'll have $35 or less. We'll fund them also. We're looking at the long term. We're not going for political gain. It's more about sustainability in respect of our ability to assist people. And we know also, as you know, as I've also mentioned here, that we are looking at another set of initiatives to assist those people who now may have reduced hours. How do we help them? So, for example, a lady that was working in a garment factory 5 days a week and is now working only 1 day a week. We have to assist them also. And that will come from government. So we are looking at different phases of assistance. We're also looking at the different categories of people who need assistance and how do they get assistance. As I also mentioned, that there's also a whole lot of people who are in the informal sector. Unfortunately, because of the lack of record keeping, a lot of people in the informal sector have never registered. So there's a lot of people in Fiji, for example, you may be a tile layer. You're a very good tile layer. You have your own set of tools. And people know you. This guy's a good tile layer. There are people like that we know have been working for 10, 15 years. They go to a job site, they get paid, some of them get paid very good money, $300, $400 a week. But they don't pay any taxes. They're not registered as a business. They don't have FNPF. But they earn that type of money. Now suddenly that person has no longer got a job. Now if we then say all those in the informal sector who have been working, like that gentleman in that category, you're all eligible. There'll be a lot of people who will come up and say, I used to do this, but I actually did not do it. So we have to be able to manage those risks. So we are now obviously ascertaining a lot of information. The ILO is working together with the Ministry of Employment and them are carrying out a survey to look at unemployment rates, where the unemployment is taking place. Similarly, the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Tourism and Transport is also carrying out their own survey. So in the next 4 weeks or so, we'll have very solid data in that respect, and very current data, which then helps us to be able to plan out, because we don't know how long this will carry on for. And even if, for example, with the bubble, if the bubble opens up, as I said the other day, just because the bubble opens up does not mean all the tourists will suddenly start running into Fiji. They have to feel confident that they will be safe in Fiji. So how we put in place, how many people have got an uptake on contact tracing, because they have got that same contact tracing in Australia, in Singapore. They'll want to know whether we have it, and if there's only a handful of people who've got that, they say, well, it's not a safe place because we don't know who's got it. There's no systems or mechanisms in place to keep a check. So we have to ensure, and this is currently what we are doing, there's a committee consisting of the Minister for Commerce, Trade and Tourism, the Minister for Health, and Ministry of Economy, and all the technical people. We're looking at all the different workplace environments and looking at what measures need to be put in place should there be any easing off of any of the measures to build confidence. So we are also looking at the informal sector from that perspective and providing assistance to them.
Just picking up on what you said about the informal sector, most of these people, for example, those that sell on, let's say, Maxberry and Suva, that sell on the side of the road, they have hawkers licenses. But then there's some that may sell Nalo, but they don't have the license. But for so many years, they've been doing that and they've been earning a living for their family. So in particular, they wouldn't qualify for $150 per day.
No, not in the current category,
yes.
no.
Is the government looking at...
Well, that's what I just said. That's what I just said.
Something specific for them? Would they need to bring something to government?
Well, that's what we're working out at the moment.
Okay.
I mean, no, we can't answer those kind of questions on the trot. There are a lot of people, but one of the things that we also know that there has not necessarily been a downward trend in the uptake of food. People are still buying food. You go to the supermarkets are full. If you go to the fruits and vegetables, people are still buying fruits and vegetables, you just go to the market. But there are, things like, for example, the coconut sellers who may be in Nandi. A lot of the customers, for example, were the tourists. So if the tourists are no longer there, then there's an issue. The ladies, if you go, for example, I use the Outrigger Hotel. When you go to the Outrigger Hotel, there's about 6 or 7 ladies across the hotel selling handicrafts. They no longer have an income. So we need to be able to assist them. So it needs to be specifically targeted. There needs to be some form of accountability process. Otherwise, as we said, if you open it up, every person will come along and say, I used to do X, Y, Z. And there's no way to verify that. So we're working very hard in that respect to come up with various mechanisms so there's more accountability. Otherwise, you'll be the first person to say, I know somebody got the assistance, but he never did anything before.
So just to get it correct, the first phase is targeted at those who are unemployed or have lost their jobs as a result of COVID-19. And the second phase would look at people with either reduced hours or would have to take a pay cut.
No. We've already done the first wave. Out of the first wave so far, we've received 87,489 applications, of which 78,519 have been processed and have been paid out a total of $49.7 million. And then they've got another balance of 4,600 applications pending from that lot that will be processed by the end of next week. So that's done. The second phase, which is what I'm announcing today, there are three categories of people in that. One of them are those people who have received assistance but no longer have any money in the general account. In the general account. So they now will be automatically, without filling out any forms of verification, will be paid out $220 next week by FNPF. Then they, after that, have to come and verify through the employer, most of the employees have the app, FNPF app, that they are no longer employed. Then they'll continue. If they're no longer employed, they'll continue to get the $220 a fortnight for 5 installments. The second category of people in the second wave of assistance are those people who have money in their general account. And they will need to, and that their applications will commence from the 9th of June, will have to come and essentially verify that they are no longer employed. And then they'll also get the assistance, the $220 a fortnight, into their bank accounts, directly into their bank accounts. They don't have to come and queue up or get a check and what have you. Directly into the bank accounts, because the first phase took a little bit longer, but we're able to get all the critical data. So it makes it easier going forward. So now in the second phase, once they've verified they're no longer employed, they'll also get that assistance. And should they not have $1,100 in the general account, so assuming they got $300, $400, government again will top that up. Then of course there is another category of people who so far have not applied at all, but they may have just become unemployed yesterday, a few weeks ago, etc. They will get the $1,100 lump sum, because remember the first lot got the lump sum too. So they'll be entitled to the first lot of $1,100, and again, if people in that category don't have $1,100, government will top it up for them. So that's, that's the second phase. And as I said, we are now also working throughout with FNPF what we can do in respect of those people who may have, reduced hours, quite substantially reduced hours. I mean, if you say, well, instead of working 5 days, I now work 4 days, that's a lot better than somebody maybe working only 1 day. And there are some government factories I know where people are only working a day and a half. So obviously they'll be affected quite dramatically, as opposed to somebody who's working now 4 days as opposed to 5 days. So we're looking at how we're going to assist them. Now, most important thing is this, is to be able to get the right data so we can extrapolate what amount of money will need to be laid out. You see, you can make fanciful announcements, but you need to be able to understand what are the cost implications of this so you can then plan. And of course, as you know, we've got another budget coming up for the new financial year, 1st of August for 2020-2021. And as I also highlighted, that we are going to make some further detailed announcements in respect of incentivizing people to get into micro enterprises, like the example that I gave. I'm not talking about opening up a car wash. I'm talking about those people who have particular skill sets and they are now unemployed, but they can use that to set up their own businesses. And the example that I gave was of the person who worked as a pastry chef, who is no longer employed. They can set up their own bakery, if you like. And then, of course, the existing small to medium enterprises will be assisting them too, by way of very attractive concessional funding.
So because a lot of people getting large sums of money in their pocket for FNPF assistance, I'm wondering if you can answer this question, if I may. Has the government getting any indication, probably from the ground, that some of these people are going back and then they're actually starting their own small businesses in order to sustain their lives, apart from just using it to...
You mean the FNPF withdrawal fund?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't have the data on that, but this is one of the reasons why also we are now allowing the FNPF withdrawals to be paid on a fortnightly basis. So this is to assist you, for example, with your purchase of groceries, your rental income, but it's steady revenue stream. I've heard some anecdotal stories of people getting lump sums of money then straight away to buy, some contraption or TV or whatever it is. But this will actually help those people to be able to manage their funds a lot better because it's a regular form of income.